Well, it has certainly been a fascinating series watching England and India go toe to toe, especially after having watched them do it so recently in India, now doing it on England soil. I'm so happy to be joined by the great Michael Holding, who's been watching it at close quarters recently at Headingley. Such a turnaround, Mikey, from the previous game. Did it give you whiplash?
Well, the last day certainly did. But as I said to people that very morning, this game is so unpredictable, Mel, that you can never ever say what is going to take place on any particular day. Everyone was saying that the third day, which was in happened to be the second to last day actually, that with overcast conditions and the lights on, the ball would be dancing all over the place and India would get bowled out cheaply. Well, as we know, they ended the day at 215 for two. And then on the last day, the fourth scheduled day, the sun was out. It was nice and warm. I went down onto the field to do the early morning stuff, and it was fantastic. And everyone was saying, oh, great batting day. India will pile up the runs. Well, as we know, they got bowled out before lunch. That is the way just this game is. Cricket and Test cricket in particular is so unpredictable. And throughout this entire series, we have had 3 Test matches now. India could have won the second one, but for weather. But then they could have lost the second one at Lords. They should have lost the second one at Lords. The first one, India. Second one should have been England, but India ended up winning it. And now England have bounced back. So it's very interesting. 2 Test matches to go.
Yeah, I likened it to, it felt like, when you're on a roller coaster at an amusement park and you start off and you're just creeping along the track, and then the next thing you're like gone down and you've left your
diving
stomach somewhere. That's what it was like. A few things that have been obviously standouts as far as his interest go is the phenomenal form of Joe Root right now. You see batters go through these purple patches at times in their career. In recent years, we've seen Steve Smith do it, and we've seen Virat Kohli do it, and now he's sort of having a few issues himself. But just how purple is this purple patch of Roots? How long do you think he can keep it running?
Again, it's unpredictable, but what Joe Root is doing right now is what I expected to see from him years ago. The first time I saw Joe Root, I thought to myself, yes, he's going to develop into another great England batsman. And he started to make some runs, got a few centuries, but then he went through this long period of just getting half centuries and 50s and 60s and not carrying on. And there was nothing that I could detect. People would keep on telling, he has made this little adjustment and that little adjustment. It's not as simple as that. They do that because they want to talk about something. If those little adjustments that people make are so influential with the results, those results will continue forever until some bowler then finds a way to combat that little adjustment. It's just talking points, Bill. He is just in very good form. He is confident. The pitches that we have played so far in the 3 Test matches have been good for batting, except Lords wasn't that good for batting because it was a little bit slow. The ball wasn't coming onto the bat. But even he, in the form that he is in and the confidence that he has been able to adjust. And who knows how long this will carry on for. He's just in brilliant form. And of course, he's a good player. It doesn't matter if you're in great form or not. If you're not a good player, you won't get the runs that he's getting.
I think the next thing is we need to start complaining about his conversion rates to double centuries. He's always getting out in the 120s or the 130s, Mikey. What's going on with him? Clearly a mental barrier. It has been great. One thing, having watched India probably at the start, we witnessed an even bigger collapse in Adelaide at the start of their tour of Australia, and they certainly bounced back from that. And one of the reasons they bounced back was this incredible depth they had, particularly, have to say, when it comes to the bowling and fast bowling, which I'm sure is of great interest to you. But we've actually seen England show a little bit of depth in that department as well, alongside the sort of master that's Jimmy Anderson. To see a bowler like Ollie Robinson come along, and Craig Overton had success in that test too. So I just wonder how you look at these 2 bowling attacks, what you like about them, and do you think one could have the edge over the other as this series wears on?
Well, I think England's bowling attack is more suitable to England than India's. You know, the Indian bowlers don't really swing the ball a great deal. Bumrah swings the ball if he pitches right up to when he's trying to bowl Yorkers. And his strength is hitting the deck and getting the ball to deviate off the pitch. These pitches that we have played on have not really suited him. Shami, fantastic bowler. Excellent control, good line and length, will trouble left-handers, right-handers, troubles everybody. But again, he's not really a big swing bowler either. He depends on a bit of movement through the areas, but then more movement off the pitch. I don't see Siraj swinging the ball. So India's bowlers, when the ball is swinging around, that will suit England more than India. If England were to play India on a neutral ground, say in Australia, I would pick that Indian bowling attack over the England bowling attack any day. Any day. But in these conditions, the England bowling attack is certainly much better.
A lot of people have really been talking about Ollie Robinson and in the same sort of mould as a Glenn McGrath or currently a Josh Hazlewood. And to me, it seems like it could be really intriguing to see how he goes in Australia. It doesn't have quite as much pace, but the skills that he does have. Do you think he's the sort of bowler who could do well in Australia?
Well, that is the problem that you just mentioned, Mel. The pace or the lack of pace. He hasn't got the Hazelwood pace or even the Glenn McGrath pace. Glenn McGrath was low 80s, yes. And Ollie Robinson is low 80s when he first starts. But as the day drags on, he drops down to 80, 79, 78, that sort of a thing. The occasional ball goes back up to 81. That's not going to work in Australia, and especially with the Kookaburra ball. The new Kookaburra ball in Australia, on Australian pitches, yes, you get a bit of movement because the seam is brand new. But as the day wears on, that seam almost totally disappears. And you need more pace than what Ollie Robinson is capable of doing right now. So I'm not too sure how successful he'll be on the Australian conditions. But even so, is there going to be an Ashes series? Is this England team going to be going to Australia? Well, they'll send a squad. But how many of this current team will be going? That's a big question as well.
You do have 2 matches left there. Do you feel, I hate the word momentum in cricket and in a series because I don't think it exists. Yeah, it doesn't exist.
I am with you totally.
Yes. I love it when you agree with me. Looking at that now, because we've seen India come back from a real shellacking in Adelaide, but England also realising that they can bowl really well and perhaps an improved batting performance with a standout of Joe Root. I mean, which do you think is perhaps a better way? Is the better side at the moment, or is it just too evenly poised that conditions, maybe a bit of turn at the Oval and Old Trafford might make a difference as well?
Yeah, I think it's going to be conditions, Mel. I don't think either team can be nominated as better than the other. I think it's just a matter of the conditions. Who gets the bat under the overcast conditions when the ball is swinging around. What sort of pitch will be prepared. Will it be slow? Will it turn at some point? Team selection as far as India are concerned. Will they bring Ashwin back into the team? All that I think is going to be very important going forward. I don't think you can nominate a team right now that's better than the other team. So it's just a matter of team selection and conditions and how each one grasp the situation and move on.
Well, one thing I do know is that I'll be watching here, and one of the nicest things is to be able to hear your dulcet tones talking over the action. So thanks for helping me through the long winter nights, Mikey, and I really appreciate you talking to us today.
No problem, my pleasure.